She was face down in total darkness. Her hands and feet were taped together and she had almost no energy. The 300,000-volt taser had zapped the energy right out of her body. She was disoriented and alone. The silence was deafening. The oxygen wouldn't last long. If she wanted to live, she would have to fight. She began using her engagement ring to cut through the tape on her wrist. The symbol of commitment would ironically be what freed her from the situation. Once her bonds were broken, she began to dig and soon she broke through the earth and could smell fresh air. She had not only broken out of her own grave, but she had broken out of a relationship with a potential murderer. This is Monsters. Marcin Kasprzak and Michalina Lewandowska met in Poland, and her parents would later say that Marcin immediately seemed like trouble. Her father said that he wouldn't make eye contact, which is always a bad sign. He described Marcin as being a spoiled only child whose mother kept him cooped up so he didn't know how to behave in the real world. By the time they moved together to the UK in 2007, they were very much in love. They moved in with Marcin's parents at their home in Huddersfield, West Yorkshire. Marcin began working at a meat factory and he was an aspiring bodybuilder. He went to the gym 5 days a week to work on his muscles. Michalina found work as a clothes mender. Marcin proposed to Michalina and gave her a diamond engagement ring. He didn't know it this time, but it would be the very thing that would save her life years later. Eventually, Michalina became pregnant and in April of 2008 she gave birth to their son Jacob. After that, the relationship began to go downhill. Marcin began taking steroids to help him with his bodybuilding, which made him start having violent outbursts. They separated, but with nowhere else to go and a child with Marcin, Michalina remained living with his parents. On May 29, 2011, under the guise of taking Michalina on a shopping trip, Marcin lured her to an area of the house where he tased her twice with a 300,000-volt taser. She dropped to the ground and he used packing tape to bind her wrists and feet. Then he stuffed her into a cardboard box and drove her out to a wooded area outside Huddersfield. He buried the box in a shallow grave and placed an 88-pound branch on top of the gravesite. Then he left her there to suffocate. As far as Marcin was concerned, he needed to get the mother of his child out of the way so his own mother could raise Jacob. If buried alive, you will very likely die of suffocation. If you're buried straight underneath dirt, this will happen more quickly depending on how deep you're buried. The weight of the dirt will compress your chest to make it harder to breathe. If you're buried in a makeshift coffin, or a real one for that matter, you have the amount of oxygen inside the coffin with you, and if you remain calm, which I know is super easy when you just realize you've been buried alive, you will probably have around 8 hours of oxygen before you suffocate. If the coffin is buried deep enough, it will be virtually impossible to dig your way out. Fortunately for Michalina, Marcin was too lazy to bury her deep, so she was able to dig herself to the surface. It took some time to get out from under the heavy branch, but when she did, she stumbled to the road and flagged down a car. Marcin had taken Michalina's bank card and withdrew £500 from her bank account and then went to a friend's house who had helped him restrain his fiancée. Police soon arrived and arrested them there the same day. Marcin claimed that he was only trying to scare Michalina and pleaded guilty to kidnapping, but the prosecutor wasn't convinced. Marcin was found guilty of attempted murder and sentenced to 20 years in prison. The friend was found guilty of kidnap and sentenced to 4.5 years in prison. When authorities searched his parents' house, they found chemicals, formulas, and recipes for making homemade explosives. His internet search history showed a disturbing obsession with explosives. He tried to claim that he was going to make homemade fireworks, but he ultimately had 4 more years added to his attempted murder charge for illegal possession of explosive substances. Marcin Kasprzak was a self-absorbed man who thought it would be easier to kill his child's mother than deal with a breakup. His own laziness led to his victim surviving and exposing him to be the monster that he is. If you're the victim of domestic abuse, please reach out to someone for help. Talk to your local shelter or call the National Domestic Abuse Hotline at 1-800-799-SAFE. That's 1-800-799-7233. Or you can go to thehotline.org to chat with someone online. This website is set up so that at any time, hitting the escape key twice will take you to a Google search page. That way, if your abuser is nearby, you won't get caught seeking help. If you're having feelings of harming yourself or someone else, or even just need someone to talk to, please contact your local mental health facility, call 911, or call Mental Health America, who operate the National Suicide Prevention Hotline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255. They're available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Thanks so much for letting me tell you this story. If you enjoyed it, subscribe on whatever platform you're on, hit like, rate us, or leave us a comment. You can also check out our other show, Somewhere Sinister, on YouTube or anywhere you listen to podcasts. If you'd like to support the show, check out our new merch at Teespring. The link is in the description. Thanks again, and be safe.